The hollow house had stood for centuries at the edge of Blackwood Forest, a decaying Victorian mansion shrouded in sinister legends. Locals spoke of screams echoing through the woods at night, flickering lights in the broken windows, and shadowy figures moving inside. No one dared go near it, except for the Harris family. The Harrises were new in town and had bought the mansion for a bargain, ignoring the warnings from neighbors. Sarah and Tom Harris, along with their teenage daughter Lily and their 6-year-old son Max, were thrilled by the house's gothic charm and sprawling grounds. The trouble began on their first night. The whispers. Lily was the first to hear them, soft voices seeping through the walls as she lay in bed. At first, she thought it was her parents arguing, but the voices weren't theirs. They were layered, overlapping, as if a dozen people were whispering at once. She pressed her ear to the wall, catching fragments of words. Stay. Gone. Hollow. Her room grew colder, and the air thickened with the scent of earth and mildew. Shivering, she returned to her bed, pulling the covers tight. The whispers continued until dawn. The next morning, Lily told her parents, but they dismissed it as her imagination. Old houses creak and groan, Tom said with a chuckle. That day, Max found a doll in the attic. Its porcelain face was cracked, its glass eyes clouded. Her name is Elsie, Max said, cradling the doll as if it were alive. Sarah frowned. Max, where did you hear that name? She told me, Max replied simply. The basement door. A week passed, and the house's strange presence grew more palpable. Shadows moved where they shouldn't, cold spots lingered even on warm days, and the whispers became louder. Sarah began to feel uneasy, as if someone was always watching her. One afternoon, while exploring the house, Sarah discovered a locked door in the basement. The wood was old and splintered, and strange markings were carved around the frame. Tom, have you seen this? She asked. Tom frowned. No. I don't remember this door. They searched for a key but found nothing. That night, Sarah dreamed of the door. In her dream, it creaked open to reveal a staircase spiraling down into pitch-black darkness. Something waited at the bottom, something with glowing yellow eyes. When she woke, her hands were covered in dirt, and the sheets smelled of damp earth. The figure in the window. Lily began spending more time away from the house, sensing its oppressive aura. One evening, as she walked back from town, she glanced up at the mansion and froze. A figure stood in her bedroom window, its outline sharp against the fading light. It was tall and gaunt, with unnaturally long limbs. Panicked, she ran inside, shouting for her parents. They searched the house but found no one. Tom tried to reassure her, but Lily couldn't shake the feeling that whatever she'd seen was still there, lurking. That night, Max started talking to Elsie. She says you shouldn't have opened the door, he whispered to Sarah at bedtime. Sarah froze. What door, Max? The one in the basement, he replied. She says they'll come now. The hollow ones. The next morning, the whispers were louder than ever, filling every corner of the house. The family gathered in the living room, tense and terrified. The house felt alive, its walls breathing, its floors groaning under unseen weight. Suddenly, the basement door slammed open. The sound reverberated through the house, followed by the slow, deliberate creak of footsteps ascending the stairs. Get the kids. Tom shouted, grabbing a fireplace poker. Sarah scooped up Max, and Lily clung to her side as they backed toward the front door. But the door wouldn't budge. The air turned icy, and the lights flickered, casting eerie shadows. The footsteps grew louder, closer, until they stopped just beyond the doorway. A figure stepped into view, a man, or what had once been a man. His face was hollow, his eyes deep pits of darkness. Behind him, more figures emerged, their forms twisted and wrong. They moved like broken marionettes, their limbs jerking unnaturally. We should leave, Max whispered to Sarah. Yes, we're trying, she replied, her voice shaking. No, Max said, his voice distant. Elsie says it's too late. The descent. The figures lunged, and the family screamed. In the chaos, Sarah and Max were separated from Tom and Lily. The creatures dragged Tom toward the basement as Lily fought to pull him back, but his screams faded into the darkness below. Sarah ran upstairs with Max, barricading themselves in a bedroom. The whispers now became deafening, an incoherent chorus of rage and despair. Max clutched Elsie tightly, his eyes wide. "She says they're angry because this was their home," Max said. "They want us to stay forever." The door shook as the creatures pounded against it. Sarah held Max close, tears streaming down her face. Suddenly, Max looked up. "Elsie says there's a way out." The ritual. Max led Sarah to the attic, where they found a circle of runes etched into the floor. In the center was a blackened candle. "We have to light it," Max said. Sarah hesitated. "What if it makes things worse?" Max shook his head. "Elsie says it's the only way." With trembling hands, Sarah lit the candle. The flame flickered, casting long, eerie shadows across the attic. The whispers rose to a crescendo, then abruptly stopped. For a moment, silence reigned. Then a wind howled through the house, pulling the shadows toward the candle. The creatures screamed, their forms dissolving into smoke. Aftermath. By dawn, the house was still. Sarah and Max found Lily huddled in a closet, trembling but alive. Of Tom, there was no sign. They left the house that morning, never looking back. Years later, the hollow house still stands, its windows dark, its doors sealed. Some nights, passers-by claim they hear whispers or see a tall figure watching from the attic. And deep in the woods, where no one dares venture, a young boy's voice can sometimes be heard, calling softly for his doll, Elsie.